Welcome, welcome everybody. I'm just sort of going to ramble a little bit while you're all coming on board. I can see everybody coming into the waiting room. Welcome again to our wonderful monthly, as it comes around so quickly, virtual conference. And it's going to be a really exciting one today. Our Literacy After Lockdown one. We've got some amazing speakers for you. We're going to excite you, including a student this time. We've got a student all the way from Cambodia going to present, and she's very inspirational. So it's going to be really exciting this evening, or afternoon, or morning for everybody who's at different time scales. I can still people are still coming in. So we'll give people a few more minutes before I start rambling a bit more. So I think we've got quite a few already. If I go through, basically that's the agenda for this evening. As usual, for those who's new, I'm going to introduce who the Global School Alliance are, who we are, and for the people who are already in it, just to remind ourselves why we're here and what we're doing this for, which is, again, inspirational. The goals and plans of the Global School Alliance, why we're all here, how to be a part of it, our new Learning Unleashed platform, which is getting very exciting. And then obviously we're going to launch into some amazing speakers. So I'm not going to ramble for long. I'm going to share as much as I can. And I think we're going live too on our on the Facebook page. So welcome anybody who's looking at us that way. But I want to head on now towards our speakers because I'm getting really excited to see everybody and to fit everyone in. So welcome everybody who's with us at the moment. And I'm going to start going through slowly. So Global School Alliance, who are we? I think basically we're a fantastic family. It's a huge community that's growing daily, and it's very exciting, and the whole point is to create a community for support and work together. So the Global School Alliance, we have its common goals. We're all here, schools, educationalists, anyone involved in education around the world. The whole point is to look at global education as a global education. So basically it's inspirational, it's to create cultural diversity, create some great experiences and educational practices for our pupils. I think everybody who's in this business is all about the young people. It's about their futures. So basically, we're here to support everybody who's in this business for students' sake, with ideas, with best practice, with resources to use, and to connect everybody to share this, because that's what I love about the teaching education sector, is everyone is so supportive and so sharing. So that's why we've created this online community for us all to share and obviously improve world education. So excitingly, we have got obviously the global community, the Global School Alliance, and our plan is to use our new platform to help with the communications aspect of it. So we can all get on there, we can share ideas, motivate each other, and share articles, do blogs. So basically we're building this together. We're providing this platform, but we want as many contributors as possible to make it fit for purpose, and it's so exciting, and it is getting very exciting. So please check out the Learning Unleashed as to communicate. And from this for today as well, normally we share the communications with our Facebook page, but we're actually going to do through Learning Unleashed after this one, so that you can all get used to it and have a little look at it. So there are three sort of ways you can join the Global School Alliance, and you can be all three. You don't have to be one or the other. So the members is kind of for the schools, basically. The schools become members to benefit the school and the general thing like that. Ambassadors can represent the schools or be separate entities yourselves. You can be just educators and not attached to a school. So, but it can be both. So if you're in the school, you can represent the school as an ambassador. The school joins as a member, and the Ambassador Pro area is for people who want to be more actively involved, to share, to spread the news, and you can also get discounts on some of the programs for the benefit of yourself and your own network, and for the privilege of being a pro. So what we're also going to add into our virtual conferences is to let you know what's coming up, to keep you informed of all the exciting things we've got in the pipeline. And believe me, we're adding more every month. It's getting very exciting. So we normally have our monthly conference again, so we are today. The next one will be 29th of, well, this is April, isn't it? So we're in March, so yes, today 25th of March, the next one's 29th of April, but in between we're slotting a few more, so almost every week. We've got a monthly What's Exciting in Education slot webinar, which is where sort of businesses, suppliers for schools give us an idea and insight onto the latest things on the market that will help support you providing education. We have got a monthly school fair, which is where you can actually discuss a bit more detail with suppliers, with companies who have some great resources for you. It's like a 20-minute session. You can have a more detailed conversation with them. And again, monthly, we'll have a more detailed webinar from each company. If you want to know more about, for instance, Fiction Express is going to be our next one on the 15th of April. So they will be telling us more about themselves one-to-one, if it means. So it's more just focus on that one company that you'll be hearing more about for the whole webinar. We've also got Developing Schools for the New Millennia, which is aimed at schools. We're looking at how to be a global school, really, how to be an award-winning global school. We're developing our own global school awards we can be part of, and it's sort of a roadmap of guidelines on how our vision of what an expert global school will be, so that we can all be on the same page and support each other to be those expert global schools, which I think is everyone's aim. So this is each virtual conference now. We're going to be also keeping you updated on what's coming. You can also find this information on our website and also on the Learning Unleashed. So it'll be everywhere you look, and we'll keep reminding you with our newsletters regularly as well. So the Learning Unleashed platform, like I said, we're going to carry on this conversation. There will be questions during the webinar that we can ask. Don't forget, introduce yourself, say hi in the chat, put your questions in the chat, we'll be monitoring it. So there might be a minute or two after each speaker, but we'll save most of the questions to the end. So make sure you've noted it in the chat if you want to say something. But for further conversation afterwards, we're going to use Learning Unleashed rather than Facebook. So you'll need to register. It's free to register, very simple. You go to the Learning Unleashed, www.learning-unleashed.com, register, put your name and address in that, and then look for the group. So there'll be a group purely for this webinar, and then it'll stay up for each webinar. So every month we'll be adding to these groups. So there will be a group room set up to talk about specifically with the speakers from this one and questions about this. So you can engage purely on this topic of literacy after lockdown in that group, and it'll be there for posterity. So check that out and have a good look around literacy, Learning Unleashed platform. It's very exciting. So I'm going to we've got these amazing speakers, and we've got Amelia waiting. Before we start actually with the League of Leadership Academy, I need to go back one because we should have Sven available. I think Sven is going to give us 5 minutes on his product. If Sven would like to share the screen, and then we'll go onto Cambodia. Okay, Sven, are you there? Okay to
Yes, I am. Good afternoon. Perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure. I'm co-founder and CEO of Fiction Express, and I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to share what we do the next couple of minutes. So this is a problem we are solving with Fiction Express. These are UK data, but the situation is pretty much the same around the world. Between 20 and 30% of pupils at the end of primary school, so at the age of around 10, 11, cannot read well. Meaning that they have learned to read during primary school, but they are reading a text and actually not understanding the text sufficiently. And as they grow up, this gap between where they should be, what would be a standard level for reading, and the reality is actually widening. So we are creating for many, many pupils during primary school a situation that is only getting worse afterwards. The question is, what if we could change this? And actually we can with Fiction Express. Fiction Express is a literacy platform targeted for primary school in the UK, Key Stage 2. And Fiction Express is a very, very unique product in the sense of how we publish our stories. So this is how a traditional publishing process looks like. We have an author who writes a book, and once the book is finished, it hopefully finds a publisher first and then readers second. It's normally a completely unidirectional process, and there normally is not a lot of interaction between the authors and the readers. I mean, we all know authors are visiting schools, libraries, and bookstores, but normally reading is a a soul experience where the kids unfortunately cannot connect with the authors. At Fiction Express, we turned this process upside down and actually starting with the reader. So everything we do starts with the readers, with the pupils, and we build everything else around. So we create interaction between the authors and the readers while the author is writing the book, and the kids can actually talk to the authors while they are reading. So how does that work? So the idea behind Fiction Express is that we really work reading, grammar, speaking and listening and writing in a coherent way and very integrated way. Normally, all those concepts of literacy are taught separately. With our methodology, we integrate them all in an engaging process that creates habits and delivers clearly measurable results. So how does that work? Our methodology starts with reading. We publish books in weekly chapters. And when we start a first chapter of a new story, the rest of the book is not written yet. So we publish them on the platform. The kids read them on the platform. And at the end, the author brings the story to an interesting moment. And then he or she gives 3 options how the story could carry on. And the kids vote actually on the plot. They decide. The author surrenders to the readers for them to decide how they want the story to develop. And then also on the platform, they can actually talk to the author, say what they like, what they don't like, give ideas. The author can ask questions. So we have this wonderful level of co-creation where we create just deep engagement with reading. And then since it's an educative product used in schools, we have a teaching and learning layer with reading comprehension question, complementary activities, and obviously a dashboard. Fiction Express has been winning pretty much all education awards in the last 2 years, the BET Awards, the Educational Resources Awards, Teach Primary Awards, and many, many others. And we are very proud. And we see that kids and teachers love the product because it develops really those habits that are so important to develop reading comprehension skills. If you want to learn more about Fiction Express, it was just mentioned on the 15th of April at 4 p.m. UK time, we will deliver together with the Global School Alliance a webinar where you can really go inside the product. Or if you don't want to wait until the 15th, please feel free to sign up for a free trial at fictionexpress.com/literacy. And we are very, very happy to give you free access and let you discover this product and share it with your pupils. So thank you very much and enjoy today's event.
Thank you, Sven. That's fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, so we've now got a really exciting and inspirational speaker for you. We've got Caroline and Melia from Cambodia from the Liger Leadership Academy, and they've got an inspirational project to share with you called the Chainsaw Tree. Okay, Caroline, are you able to, Sven, could you share the split? Caroline, share the screen, thank you.
I'm unsharing, right?
No, we can still see you at the moment.
Let me try.
No, I have unshared.
Oh. Okay, Caroline, do you want to take it? Fantastic. Thanks, yeah. Ben. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline. I'm the principal of the Liger Leadership Academy in Cambodia. I'm very happy to be here. One of my 10th grade students, Melia, has joined us. Melia, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. And I'm very excited to be here.
Okay. So we are going to start by sharing a little bit about a project that we're doing. We're a project-based leadership academy. And one of our recent projects is a campaign to raise awareness about global deforestation. Can I move this out so that you guys, good. Okay, there we go. So I am going to just start with a quick video. It's just about 3 minutes, but it will give you a little bit of history of our chainsaw tree, the context, and a little bit about our campaign that's going on right now.
Liger Leadership Academy is a project-based learning school with the goal of creating the next generation of Cambodian change agents. At Liger, we focus on hands-on, experiential learning modules, also known as exploration, which will have a direct positive impact toward the community. Exploration normally lasts 7 weeks long, in which we learn about the society's real-life problem and generate creative solutions. In addition, Liger graduates must complete a year-long individual impact project during their grade 12 year. Each impact project must leave a positive and sustainable legacy in the community within Cambodia.
The original idea for our exploration came from our country director, Dom Sharp, and one of our alumni, Ming Huot, who later took it as his impact project. Their goal was to raise awareness about deforestation in Cambodia by making a tree from chainsaw that was confiscated from illegal logging activity in Mandogiri. We would partner with outside artists to weld the chainsaw to form a tree. We actually want to make the big chainsaw tree in Mandogiri, but start close to home, we built one model on our campus first. As the tree is being constructed, a group of our current students wrote a creative science fiction story about the origin of the chainsaw tree aimed at Khmer secondary school students. And now that our chainsaw tree is being built and our book is on its way to being published, we are launching our multi-platform campaign to raise awareness about deforestation in Cambodia and beyond.
So our campaign includes a performance challenge, a poetry and photography competition, a series of chainsaw tree murals in every province, a campaign press release, and 2 original songs. We also have a movie pitch in the making with a dream of turning our chainsaw short story into an actual animated film. By the end of this academic year, we hope that we can leave positive impact on the mind and the hearts of Cambodian and our global partners. We hope to inspire them to get serious about reforestation. Can you imagine if our poetry competition produces a poem like Amanda Gorman's The Hill We Climb? Or if our original song gets to #1 on the English or Khmer chart? Or what if our press conference ignite media attention global and local to this very issue? From the performance challenge to the photography competition, the possibilities for impact are boundless, but only if you join us.
Deforestation is a global issue. Here's what we have done to stop it. What have you done to be a part of reforestation? Join us now on one of our missions.
Sorry, guys. Let me just see how I can get back into presenting. There we go. So we wanted to make some connections with the theme of the conference because it is based around literacy. And even though we do a lot of project-based learning, language is really at the core of all of our projects. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the book that you heard mentioned. So when the chainsaw tree was actually constructed on our campus, the students decided to write a science fiction story contextualizing the chainsaw tree. So how did it come to be? Why a chainsaw tree? What happened to all the real trees? So they created sort of a futuristic hero who's living in a time without a lot of oxygen. There's no trees left because of deforestation. And he has to travel back in time to kind of figure out what happened and how he can try to save humanity. It's about 40 pages, so it was a lot of writing, a lot of editing and revising and getting feedback. You can see one of the pages there on the right, and the students also had the chance to illustrate it.
So we actually begin our exploration by creating these 3 colorful and fun infographics regarding the deforestation in Cambodia, Southeast Asia, and globally, with the sole purpose of educating ourselves with the topic of deforestation on all 3 levels.
Something else that we wanted to do literacy-wise was create a press release, which is not something I had ever done. It's not something that our students had ever done, but if you're gonna say it's a global campaign, then you need to try to get the word out there. So we used a lot of different models of press releases that were available to us. We worked with several experts in the field in PR and some journalists that we knew. And we basically just did trial and error and tried to figure out how to put together a 6 or 7 page press release, including quotes from stakeholders, excerpt from the book, photos of the actual chainsaw tree, just a lot of really good language learning there.
So this is a more entertaining approach to tackle deforestation. We created 2 songs, one in Khmer and another in English. So we went through the whole process of coming up with the melody, the lyrics, the music, as well as recording it. Our initial goal was actually to put these songs on radio. However, we ended up with just using it as a form of spreading awareness instead.
Another connection is that we took the plot of the book and we actually turned it from the Khmer story into an English movie pitch. Again, something we had never done. We sort of took a calculated risk and thought to ourselves, you know, this story is so original and creative, and it came straight from the kids. We had a couple of contacts who were in direction and production in California, and we said, let's just pitch it as an animated short film and just see if they're interested in it. So the kids worked really hard, not only on translating the story into English, but also turning a short story into a movie. They actually ended up changing the ending when the story ends sort of tragically, but the movie, they thought an animated film needed a happy ending, so they changed at the end. And we are continuing to discuss the actual possibility of turning this into an animated film.
So about the video that you saw in the introduction, it was actually created by our team. We wrote, memorized, film, edited the entirety of the video, including the interpretation into the Khmer language.
Okay, so those were some of the things that we did back in January and February. And right now we have another group of kids still working on the campaign. The contests that were mentioned in the video, the poetry and the photo contests, those actually came to an end on Friday. I feel like if I had known about this opportunity, I may have extended the deadline. But we are really trying to encourage students from Cambodia and internationally to engage in writing poems about how they feel about deforestation. So there's a couple examples there. One of the infographics that the kids made. And then the other thing that we are pushing right now is book reviews. So you can see some of the kids from the government schools have already read our book. We turned out some drafts for them in February just to get some feedback, to encourage them to really read the book and think about it critically. And we also can use this content to encourage others to read our book.
So we also extended our approach by posting on social media, sending out emails and messages to famous individuals and organizations with the intent to maximize our campaign reach. This is a form of networking, and it is actually one of our leadership competencies in which we're being assessed on at Liger. The networking email is actually the reason why we're able to present here today. So we're very honored to be here today.
So in the future, we have a couple of ideas. We have a lot of ways that we think you guys can get involved as well. So we'll talk about that in a second. But one of the other really strong literacy activities that was built into this project is we're creating a website. So it was something we had talked a lot about. There's a lot of information out there about deforestation, but a lot of it is in English, and there's not a lot of content in Khmer. So what we're doing is when we finally publish the book, right now it's just in draft form, but when we do the final publish, there's going to be a QR code in the back, and any Khmer student with a mobile device can just take a picture, use the QR reader, and it will bring them to our website, where it will have a lot of factual information about deforestation in Khmer. It will have a lot of really engaging, fun activities. We've got some really positive news, some entertaining stuff on there about environmental sustainability and innovations that are happening now, so that it's not all bad news. And there's also going to be a 30-day challenge that students can tap into at any time. They can just take on the small challenges of trying to become a more sustainable and contributing member to the environment. So that's what we're working on in the future.
So now that you've heard about what we have done, is doing, and is planning to do, here are some ways that you can get involved. So one of the ways you can get involved is to actually have a mural of your own. So initially, we had the idea of letting the students paint their own chainsaw tree mural in all 25 provinces in Cambodia. But we came to realize that the chainsaw tree itself is a complex art. Therefore, we came up with the idea of having a sticker of the picture of the chainsaw tree, one that is shown in the slideshow picture, so that students can just stick it to a flat surface, for example, a wall of a school. We then think that just the sticker alone is very plain and restrictive, so we came up with the idea of adding different backgrounds to it, since the sticker itself has a transparent background. These are three different backgrounds that we came up with for them to use as inspirations. So the next the next way you can get involved is the Liger Deforestation Karaoke Challenge. So like we mentioned before, a song was actually one of our product. So you can sing to our song, or you can get creative with it by creating your own melody to our lyric, or creating your own lyrics to our melody. Get creative with it.
Another way that you can get involved, we're hoping that we can do a little bit of an author Q&A, whether that is through Facebook Live or through a Zoom. We have these amazing authors of our Chainsaw Tree book. They went through the whole writing process, and they have a lot to share to inspire other young high schoolers who love to write, who might want to write something and get their story out there. So we think it could be great for students who have read the book and they have questions about the book, or just generally about what it's like to be a young author. And if I haven't said this already, we are in the process of translating the Khmer book into English, and the goal is to have that finished by the end of April. So the final edit and the publishing, we're hoping to have by the middle of May. And then finally, we do really want to do some book clubs. We're planning on doing them, of course, in Cambodia, but we do have big ideas about having students from different schools who are in similar time zones, if they're able to read our book, whether we distribute it digitally or otherwise, and then come together and discuss it, and really ultimately discussing the themes of deforestation. So with that, that's it. We're just so grateful that you all took the time to listen. We hope that we left you a little bit inspired, and our contact is there. Please take a screenshot, get in touch with us. If you are into any of the ideas that we proposed, or if you have ideas of your own, we are more than excited to collaborate with you.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. That was inspirational. I'm sure everyone will agree. Thank you, Amelia. And that was, I don't know if anyone realizes, but this is almost midnight. Amelia has waited up to be able to present this to you, which is awesome. And I'm sure it is very inspirational. And again, there'll be more, we'll put some more of this Learning Unleashed. And I'm sure countries from all over the world would love to get involved with you. Thank you so much for that. I think there are questions on there are that, will you have other projects with other countries? But I'm sure they can get involved, can't they? Other countries with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're looking for as much global connection as possible.
I think somebody has offered to do an Arabic song on the chat as well. So
amazing, amazing.
That will be amazing. So thank you so much for that. Thank you very, very much, Amelia. Am I okay to go on to Marva? Marva is all the way from Jamaica, who's going to tell us about literacy over there. Marva, are you okay to share screen?
I hope so.
Thank you. Go for it.
All right. Just give me a minute. Are you seeing my screen? Okay. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I'm not sure what time is it for everybody, but whatever time of the day it is, I say good morning, good afternoon, good night. I am Marva. I am from Jamaica, and today I'm going to be speaking on strategies to ignite writing. But just to share a little about what I would have been doing in Jamaica, I worked with the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information in Jamaica as the Regional Literacy Coordinator. And in my job, I would have been going into schools and giving support to schools, as in teachers and students. So there are approximately 112 primary schools and approximately 37 secondary schools. However, I would have been giving support to 10 primary priority schools and 4 secondary priority schools. I will provide guidance in developing strategies to address literacy deficiencies, as well as evaluate literacy programs, examining teaching and learning, and determine the impact on students' learning and their achievement. So I would make recommendations as well where necessary. We'll actually, when we go in, we'll actually do reading assessment, and based on what we would have found out, we would assist in developing and implementing customized reading program based on literacy needs. I will also facilitate ongoing professional development and training in literacy, and we provide support where I would give teachers support in demonstration lessons. I would do co-teaching. I would vet teachers' lesson plan and give feedback. So today I'm going to be looking at how we can actually ignite writing. Now, Jamaica is quite a unique country. So I'm going to go into showing you a presentation as to what happens where we are now based on our present situation. So here am I going to show you a video. I hope I'll have enough time to show you that video, but I'm going to show you a video as to what happens presently happening in Jamaica. All right, my video here. All right, just let me check my video here.
Would you like me to maybe share screen and see if I can do that for you, or see if the video's not working, Marva?
All right, just give me one more. I'm going to try again and see what happens.
Have another go.
All right, you could go again. Go ahead.
I say, do you want to stop? If you stop sharing, let's see if I can get the video up for you. I'll see if I can share this. Okay. Let's see if I can, if you can see it through mine. Sorry, is it going to be clear this? Oh, I'm not sure if it's going to work for me either.
Okay, let's go again.
I'm sorry, I'll stop sharing, Marva, and let you continue with your PowerPoint. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to access it. I'll see. Maybe it should have been more embedded.
All right.
Apologies.
All right, let me try again. Technology. I have done this before and it worked. Let me go again. If I can't get the video, I'll just go ahead and then maybe afterwards we can try again.
Yeah, carry on. We can share the links for you if we can't manage to get it to play for later.
Right. So I'm going to skip the video. And here is a picture. The video would have spoken to it. But in Jamaica, this is a teacher. And based on the lockdown situation where our students are home, this teacher decided to create classroom on the street. So if you look behind her, this is a zinc fence. She actually goes to the community and she got some contributions and she painted the zinc black so that she can use it as her blackboard. Now it's an inner city community. And so the students would have come by and they would actually be checking to see what's on that board each day in the week. So there are 5 days in the week for school. The teacher would have gone putting up work on that zinc, that blackboard, and the students would use that blackboard. Here again, the teacher is again, assigning work, leaving work for the students. This is a on-the-street consultation. So there are times when the teacher would go out to put the work on that zinc fence, and the students would come by and she would have conversation with the students. This is one of our present situation as well, where because of COVID-19, students will have to keep their distance. These students do not go on any platform at all. So they would go in after school, and this is an after school program where we would train teachers, persons who are in teachers' colleges. So student teachers are trained, and after we have trained them, we ask them to give the support in schools, and they go in after school. Mathematics and language arts, those two areas are covered in the after school program. And this is another setting in the same afternoon program. We call it the mobile intervention program. Now, if you look at this, and I would have hoped to show you the videos, if you would have seen the video, and I'm going to give you a synopsis as to what the videos are like. Now, in one video, you would have seen where a parent who is also a teacher who has 2 devices, and she has 2 students, but she also works at home, and she would have to use those 2 devices in order to do her business, as well as to get information from her children's teacher and share the information with. We would actually see in one of the videos where a parent has 1 phone, she has data at home, further, not data, she has internet, Wi-Fi at home, so she would have 1 phone, and she is actually using that 1 phone to get information on WhatsApp from her 2 children's teacher, and she's alternately sharing the information with them. That same video, there is a child, one of the children, and he's saying he likes to be at home. He prefers to be at home to get this teaching. His sister is saying, I don't want to be at home. She says, when the teacher sends the work, she has to look at the example and try to follow it. But if she was in school, and these were her words, I would get many tries. And upon trying, I'll be able to do better. One of the videos shows a little boy who the mother said the teacher really loves him and he's able to do his work. And he's saying, I prefer to be at home. One video shows a teacher who puts work on the community zinc board or zinc blackboard, and she leaves work. One of the videos shows a principal who, after consultation with his board and other stakeholders, he actually gets material printed, and he gets on a bike because the area doesn't have road to drive a car. So he gets on a bike and he takes that kit to the students at home. He takes it to every child who is not able to come to school to collect it. And this is a teacher. Now, after doing all of that, we would have known that our students have a vast variety of experience. And so from our experience, I am going to tell you of a strategy that we can use to ignite writing in students. And that strategy is recount strategy, recount writing strategy. We use recount writing strategy to describe things that happen. Now, personal recount tells of activity that happens to us personally. We are able to write about our feelings. We are able to write our feelings, and when we express ourselves, gradually we actually get over some emotional trauma. When we write our feelings, we get a chance to observe our thoughts. This helps us to keep track of our thoughts. Now, how do we ignite writing? Let's explore personal experiences. And based on what I've just shared with you, our students, they all have a story. And being an educator, we would know students have a lot of stories. We'll have to make sure that we keep on top of things in our classroom. Hence, they will always tell us their story. So this is an opportunity where we can use personal recount writing strategy to help our students to express themselves. Now, through recount, students track their thoughts and their feelings, and this gives them a better opportunity to write. What are some of the experiences during our lockdown? All right, so I'm not going to go into our experiences just yet, but let's connect. How can a teacher connect recount right into our present context? We have a lot of experiences, and our present context is that we are in lockdown. So what do? Personal recount can help students to connect, and by doing their personal recount, we will understand that there are special moments that these recount will capture. And in these moments, we'll learn something about ourselves. What can we learn? We learn that through perseverance, we can overcome challenges. And I would have shared with you that this child, despite how difficult it was for her to understand what the teacher sends, she will overcome that. We can learn that the situation is not as bad as it seems. We may also learn that we will triumph in the end. They could also learn that it's always good to try again. They will also learn that they are stronger than they thought they were. And there are other lessons too that they can learn. Connecting. Look at our situation. Why do we want our students to have any form of recount experience that they have and they would want to express? Our students have a lot in them and they want to share. Recount writing is beneficial because it's therapeutic. When you go through a traumatic situation, when you get a chance to say it over and over again, it actually will eases the trauma. It's also instructive in developing literacy. Recount writing gives students the medium to reflect on their past experiences or a particular experience that touched their lives in very special ways. So students will recount the event, note the feelings involved, and reflect on those feelings. And as a result, they would change. Now, this is what happens in our Jamaican context. So school reopens in October. There was no school in September. There was no school, whether remotely or face-to-face. There was online and face-to-face, and this is what happens. Those students who did not get on a platform at all, they were sent, the Ministry of Education created home learning kits. And so we send home learning kits. Students were given devices. And then I spoke about the mobile intervention. There are different platforms that we use. We use Edmodo, Schoology, Zoom, WhatsApp, Google Meet, anything that works for the students. Then teachers will go out of their way to get that to work for them. What happens in school? There are many challenges, but again, students, parents, teachers learn how to overcome these challenges. The school doors presently, they are still shut. There are new COVID protocols, and as a result, Jamaican school doors are shut, but school is still in session. How do we ignite writing our students with all this experience? When a child wants to keep talking, how do we do this? We explore their experiences. How do we encourage that during the lockdown? This is one way we can do it. The language experience approach is a good way to start. What do we do in the language experience approach? We allow our children to share a common experience. And this is it. We all have the same experience. We're all at home. We're all shut in. We're all doing the same thing. Behind the walls, we're having school. So when the children are able to share that common experience, they'll be able to describe their experience out loud. So they're speaking it. The teacher can articulate what they say, and this would help the child to be more comfortable in speaking or saying or writing what the teacher would have articulated. Now, the teacher would do this after the child shares that experience. Once the child is comfortable with the vocabulary and is able to say it the way he understands it and the way he wants to express himself, he will write it down, and then he'll be able to read what he would have written down. These are some of the experiences: loneliness, not seeing friends, being taught out of school or at home, fear of the pandemic, being with families more, lack of devices, lack of internet, etc. And there are some of them who would have had device and no internet. Some of them would have internet and no device. But in all of this, the teacher has a specific role, and the students, they have specific role. So what would the teacher do in order to explore the student's experience? The teacher would need to ask questions to prompt responses. The teacher will also give students time to express themselves. Sometimes as educators, we are impatient. When we ask a question, a teacher sometimes will answer her own question. But we need to give the students time to express themselves. Give them time to reflect. And when we give them time to reflect, we also need to create a non-judgmental environment. We are supposed to allow students to feel free to talk without feeling as if they're being judged. Allow students to feel comfortable as they express themselves. Now, students too have roles. The students should be encouraged to express or reflect on their feelings. And the teacher should encourage the student to focus on one event at a time. Ask other questions. Describe their coping mechanism, because everybody would cope differently. Now, after we have done all of this, here I'm sharing an example. And I hope that James would have shared the link with the group. This is a book that I have written, and this is giving a personal recount. And in this recount, I'm just going to read with you, and you can listen to hear the who, the what, the when, what happened, who are the characters, and all of this would have been done in chronological order. So all the answers to the question of the setting, the who, the what, the why, would have been answered in your personal recount. It would have allowed you to express yourself based on your experience. And this is a personal experience. This is a story that happened when I was a child. And the title of the story is The Ranger and I. School days are the very best. Every day after school, we play on the road. We love the mango season. We would pick mangoes as we walked home, ripe, green, and half-ripe mangoes spread out under the trees. When there was none on the sidewalk, I climbed over the wall. I could climb very well. Sometimes we sat by the roadside and ate the mangoes we found under the mango tree. It was always fun after school, the best part of school days. Not even lunchtime was more exciting. As soon as the bell rang after school, we all dashed out the door. We were like mad ants out in the schoolyard. I bet you can't beat me to the gate, Tony. Would dare me. We would run off, leaving a cloud of dust behind us. The watchman at the school gate gave up trying to keep order. We could hear him muttering to himself from time to time. His only weapon, after all the years of working at the school, was to roll his eyes, hiss his teeth, and lock the gate after we left. Poor Mr. Wilson. Some days I felt sorry for him. Now, I have a slide here that would have shown you how you can actually use material that would have shared personal recount to assist your students in writing. I'm going to make some attempt to show the video. Really hope it works this time. And this is actually from the same material that I have written. I'm just going to share with you a synopsis of the reading.
Only an earthquake could wake him up. Our only problem was the Rangers. We were always on the lookout for the Rangers. They were always trying to stop us from breaking the cage. As long as they were not in sight, we would help ourselves to the cage. It was fun running through the cage. That evening, we did not make it any further than the base mango tree on the sugar estate. We had eaten a lot of mangoes and then stopped at the sugarcane to eat some cane before we went home. We were so stuffed from the mangoes and cane juice that we stretched out on the ground under the tree. The breeze was good. We lay there using our legs, backpacks, and pillows. We could hardly get up to our home. Suddenly, the silence was broken. Run! Run! Linda! Run! Jim! Run! It was Danny. I looked around. I didn't see her. The other children were scrambling to get their knapsacks back. Where is Danny? I asked Al in a panic. I don't know. We were sleeping. He replied. Run! I jumped up trying to
I'm
figure
sorry,
out.
Marva, it's quite difficult to hear for a lot of people. We're not managing to pick that up very well.
Pardon me?
It's not, the sound is and vision is not coming through very well. I don't think a lot of people can actually hear that too well. Are you able to make it any clearer or maybe tell us more about it?
Right, it won't be able to go. I can't get it up any more than it is.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. What I can do though, I could read the story. I could read that part if I have time.
We have another few. We have a couple more minutes. If I don't know how long it is, maybe if you'd like to or summarize it or give us an idea of what it's about, it might be easier.
All right then.
Thank you.
So here is a story, and it's the same story that I would have had. Just let me stop sharing a minute. It would have been the same story that I would have had when I showed you my presentation. And so the story is where this child who actually would have, after school one day, would have been breaking the canes from the cane field. And this is the story. After leaving school in Jamaica, there's always a mango tree. There's always some cane field. And so we will break the canes and we will be eating the cane while we go home. But this evening, the ranger caught up with us. And so the story went on where the ranger called me to come into the Jeep. I was walking towards the Jeep, and then I would have been hearing from the distance somebody crying out to me, telling me not to go into the Jeep. We continue and we ran and we ran and we ran. We had so many mangoes in our bags. We were so stuffed. But when we got home, we had no appetite for that cane. We had no appetite for the sugar cane. We had no appetite for the mango. And so because of that, we learned our lesson. And this is where recount writing would actually teach you a lesson. You would have examined your feelings. You would have observed what you were feeling. You would have been able to share your experience. And in going through your experience, you would recognize that you have learned your lesson. You have overcome challenges. Of course, we did go back and break cane on another day. But for that day, we were not going back to the cane field. So I'm going to try again, just one last time, to see if I will be able to show you at least one of the video. One last time, I will try. Oh. Right, let me go back here. All right. All right, this one is not coming up. All right, I'm not able to get this up still, so.
I'm
all right,
sorry,
one is
Marva, there
coming
does
up.
seem to be a lot of background noise as well. I'm not sure if that's coming through from a.
I'm sorry about that. I'm going to be sharing my video now. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So this is one of the videos from the principal. Come on.
is Karen King, the principal of the primary and infant school here in Westmoreland. Been here for the last 2 years, working here in the same capacity of being a principal for 2 years. When we realized that we were instructed that school was supposed to be closed, what we did, we met as a staff with the stakeholders, with the community members, with the parents to ensure that we account for all our children. Now, the great thing about this is we already put some things in place prior to the COVID situation. Now, when we realize that there are some students, however, who do not have internet access at home, and then what we decide that we'll have to do is try and find a way to ensure that there is equity in the system and that we can account for all our children. What we did is set up a printing system, which the regional office in Region 4 helped to coordinate also with our regional director, stakeholders, Rockhouse, and the other entities. So we work together on this project. So we print the material, take them from Montego Bay to Westmoreland. Sometimes we're nuts for them. Sometimes I go in and I take them, and then the teachers will email the work. We get them print, and then once we get them print, we take them to the school, create a drop-off and a pick-up point, and then we sort the documents out, staple them together, use the register, account for all the children, and then from there, what I'll do is go through the communities that are in a more remote location, and then ensure that all the children receive printed materials that they wouldn't be able to access under normal situation.
I'm so sorry, Marva, but we are also not seeing a video at the moment. We can hear some sounds, but the video isn't playing for everybody. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. I do apologize.
You're not hearing it?
We can't see a video playing at the moment, and that we can hear some speaking, but it's not actually working. I'm so sorry. But I think what we can do is we'll share.
No problem.
We'll try and amend this and make sure that when we upload it, we do the recording, we can get some of the links in to share with the rest of the members, and see if we can rectify it for you, if that's okay. I'm so sorry about that. I'm not sure. Are you able to stay with us to answer some questions maybe a bit later on? We have a few more speakers still to go through.
Yes, I will be. All right. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was.
I really hope that our teachers will be able to really ignite students right in using their experiences.
Yeah, but it is fantastic, and I think maybe there might be a slight Wi-Fi, internet issue with the fact that you're in Jamaica, but it was inspirational. I love the fact, like I say, we've done a lot of high-tech things, but this is really back to the basics, back to how they can actually recount their own experiences. So we shall share more of your information with the rest of the members another time and get back to you if that's okay. Thank you so much for your input. I'm not sure. I think we do have a quick. And the next person is Andy Salmon, I think, from Sir Linkalot. Is Andy there? We're able to just quickly share with Andy or James. Do we know if Andy's with us?
Yeah, can you see me?
Oh, Andy, no worries. Okay, are you okay to proceed?
Yeah, that's right. Shall I start now?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Okay, right. My name is Andy Salmon. I'm also called Sir Linkalot because I like to link a lot. Linking is a fun and easy way to remember things by trying to find a connection, a link. But linking is already out there. It's the use of mnemonics. Things like for northeast, southwest, naughty elephants squirt water, or never ever support West Ham. Right? You got that? Good. The spelling of because is a tricky one for this. Is big elephants can't always understand small elephants. Spelling of because, or could, would, and should. Oh, you lucky duck. O-U-L-D. So these tricks are out there. I've done nothing new. I've done thousands of them. And it is tremendous for spelling. Oh my goodness, it is so good for spelling. It's so exciting. But children who've got a learning issue, like children who've got dyslexia or English as a second language, this is knocking down barriers like that. Because what I've done, I've taken the words off the paper and animated them. Let me just show you 3 or 4 examples now what it's all about, okay?
Right, I'm just going to play your video.
Yep, thank you. Can they see you okay, yeah? Because I can't see you. Okay. Thank you.
By the letter U looks like a shopping bag. When you go shopping, you put the things you buy into your shopping bag. Mustn't forget Grandad's teeth. There and there. The I is a person, their possession. The R is a signpost, their direction. He helps her to get here and there. He helps her to get here and there. He helps her to get here and there. Biscuit. Normally, you dip your biscuit into the cup, but in this case, you dip the cup into the biscuit. The C is the handle, and the U is the cup.
Can you show the etymology? That's all right. Next one. It's the last one.
Biscuit is a French compound word pronounced biscuit. Bis means twice. It's a sibling of the bi in bicycle, which has 2 wheels. Cuit is the past tense of a French verb meaning to cook. So biscuit literally means twice cooked, because there were 2 parts to the process. Firstly, the biscuits were baked, and then they were dried in a slow oven.
And there you go. That is. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the applause. Autographs later. Thank you. Thank you.
The word man is followed by alternate letters.
Right, do you want to turn that off now?
Adam and Eve.
That's okay.
A man tries to maneuver down our chimneys quietly.
Sorry, James.
That's okay. There's loads. There are hundreds more of those. But the great thing is, this is not all about me. That one for there and there, I was told that 10 years ago by a dyslexic specialist, which is really cool. I came out with a catchy rhyme at the end, but she said the I is a person, the R is a signpost, which I love. So it's not all about me. Hands up if anybody knows. Who's heard of the BET show, B-E-T-T in London? Hands up. Okay, right. I went last year. I was an exhibitor last January in a 2 metre by 3 metre stand. That's all I could afford. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Anyway, I was there, and there's I met many. There are 35,000 people turned up, teachers, many overseas teachers, English second language, and I met many of them. They said, "This is fantastic because your language, English, is a complete nightmare. It is such a nightmare to learn. It's like the word was, you know, or the word they. Well, why isn't that T-H-A-Y? Why is that an E? I mean, the word he, isn't that H-E-E, like C? You know, so they said, this is brilliant. Now, there was an awards night. Every year there's an awards night, black tie jobby, 600 people there. I entered my app for the Best Educational App Award. I gave it a go, entered it. 50 companies entered. And guess what? Yeah, baby, check that out. Okay. And I did some dad dancing on stage. And my teenage daughter said, no, don't do that in public. Don't do that. I said, whatever. I won a big award. And I'm giving it all that. Highly embarrassing. Anyway, so children for English second language or dyslexia learning about it, this is massive. I've got tiny words like the word he or the word I or the up to onomatopoeias all the way through. Now, some of you in the UK would have recognised that woman's voice, Susie. That is Susie Dent from Countdown. Susie Dent from Countdown is the queen of words in the world on English words. She is the queen of everything words, all right? She's on this programme Countdown. We love her. Her character is called Lady Lexicographer. There's her character, Lady Lexicographer. She is telling children the etymology of words, a very important part of literacy, okay? We talk every day. We're like best mates. I'm talking to a national treasure every day. It's great. I'm so happy. But the app covers spelling, punctuation, grammar, etymology, homophones, rules and patterns, prefixes. It's covering the whole of literacy. And each bundle of words, there are 20 words in each bundle, level 1 to level 5. I've not called them year 1, year 2, because the overseas market wouldn't understand the terminology. But secondly, when you've got a 10-year-old child who's a really bad speller, they don't feel very cool about clicking on year 1 words. They don't mind level 1. Each bundle has got 2 types of tests, a multiple choice and a crossword challenge. They can get better and better and better. And a couple more things very quickly. On my Sir Lincoln YouTube channel, there are 80 lessons of me being a nutter like this, saying poo, bottom, woofy, and but children send in their tricks. and they get on the lessons. They get shout outs, they win badges, they win pencils. It's wonderful stuff. And all the children need to play is an imagination. And if a child's got a really good link, they can send it to me, they can get their name on the app. A boy recently, a 7-year-old boy called Tom, his name's on the app, Tom Milner Moore. My link for autumn is good, it's really good. His is better. I've got rid of mine off the app. I spent 200 quid with my animators, put his bit of genius up, and he's got his name under the animation, and he cannot believe it. He cannot believe it. He's so happy that he's beaten me, which is brilliant, okay? These lessons are a big part of, these lessons get used in class. You must, for every school in the world learning English, no one has ever attacked tricky words before. You may have heard of No Nonsense or Spelling Shed. Ruth Miskin, phonics programs. There are 147 tricky words that in the UK children have got to learn for phonics that aren't phonetic, like was, they, and he. I've done those words. This runs alongside phonics, okay? This is massive. I'm sorry to be arrogant and big-headed about it, but no one's ever done it before. And the results are unbelievable. And children are learning English like that, okay? So the pricing is €4 per child, but a year, annual license. And by the way, there's going to be maths on the app in a year's time, then geography and science, not just spelling, punctuation and grammar. But if you can refer a friend and get them to agree to a Zoom demo with me, you've got it for €2, okay? So what we're going to do, you're going to be given a code with the details, with a trial code for a month. You can play with it on a laptop or a PC. There's one code for the whole school. They give that to the parents for free. So you'll be given this code, have a play with it in the next couple of weeks. Try it with children, try it with teachers and see what you think. There's a laptop version and a PC, so it's on the whiteboards in class. One code for the whole school, okay? I think that's all you need to know for now, I think.
Thank you very much indeed.
Is that all okay?
That is brilliant. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy. If I share the screen, I can put that last slide up for you to, I think we have your slide here, don't we? So basically, guys, this is, if you want to take a screenshot of this is a free trial from Andy for Sir Link-A-Lot. Have a go at it. Okay.
One more thing, very quickly. So one thing I forgot to say, if you don't mind, James, there's a tutorial of about 45 minutes of me going through everything. It's high octane stuff, but I think we should could we send that to them, James? Is that okay, that tutorial click through?
No problem at all.
Okay, I'll send it to you later, okay?
Thank you so much, Andy. We do have to move on, unfortunately.
That's fine. Sorry I've gone too long. I'm so sorry.
I've got 2 head teachers waiting very patiently in their schools, and I know they're going to get locked out by their caretakers if we don't get onto them soon. So I think Mina, I'm going to share with Mina now because she's going to introduce the head teachers to us. Thanks, Mina. Are you there?
Hello there. Hi, Tony. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to speak to your group again and talk about video conferencing and how the schools that I've been working with for over a decade now have been using video conferencing in their classrooms. And I know the theme today is literacy, and I've heard some great stories from Cambodia, Jamaica. So now we're going to hear some great stories with the theme of video conferencing in mind from Northeast London here in England. And both the schools are from the London Borough of Redbridge. And we're going to start with James Brownlee first. So he's the head teacher of Little Heath School. He's been in teaching for nearly 40 years and working in various special schools for over 30 years. So he has a great deal of experience. He's a passionate advocate of the cause of special education, and he's an enthusiastic supporter of technology. And he wants to make education accessible through technology as much as possible for people with additional needs. And James gave a great talk. He was at the BET show in the arena in January 2020, talking about video conferencing just before lockdown, just before everybody, realized, probably didn't have any idea of the impact video conferencing had. But I'm sure if he was back in the arena now giving that same talk, I'm sure the whole arena would be packed to hear it. But anyway, we've got a packed Zoom conference today from all around the world. So I'm going to hand over to James, and then we're going to go over to Fazana after James. So over to you, James.
Okay. So I'm going to try to share my screen first of all, because that's the first thing we've got to do, isn't it? And here we go. Did that work? Yeah, lovely. Okay, so this is partly a kind of recap on things which I spoke about, as Mina said, back in 2020, before the world suddenly descended into the COVID chaos that we are still experiencing. So Little Heath School is a special school for young people aged 11 to 19. All of the children have learning difficulties. Many of them have complex needs. That means that about 60% of them are on the autistic spectrum. Many of those young people have limited verbal communication skills. All of them will have some sort of difficulties with literacy, with reading, with writing, and numeracy. Many of them have additional complex needs relating to their personal and social development. That's the kind of picture. It's becoming more complex, but we like to get out. And at a time like this, we can't do very much of it. So this is what some of our more able youngsters might use to travel around. They might travel on the red buses, as we call them sometimes, to travel around the great city of London, sometimes more locally. But actually, most of the time, we use rather antiquated school minibuses. We've got 2 of them, and the government's changing the rules in London so that if you have very old vehicles, they're going to charge you lots of money to travel into areas more towards the centre. So that's going to be a problem for us. But the reason, of course, our youngsters travel on these buses a lot of the time is simply because they need the support of the adults with them. And for many, it's too big a challenge to be going on to regular mass transport like buses, underground trains, and the like. So we like to travel around like that. And that's how we try to engage our youngsters in the world around them, so that they can participate in the life of the community in which they live. They can use the services that are there. They can engage with other people they find in their day-to-day lives. So, but we've managed to do some wonderful things along the way. So we've actually managed to go to some of these places. We've been to, yes, Sweet Home, Alabama, in the deep south of America. We've visited the outback in Australia. We've even been to New York there, and you can see, well, you can see one of the biggest buildings in the city. And we've got as close as we can to outer space at the international, one of the international space centers. So how are we doing all of this traveling? Well, and what does it actually mean? So if you were to plot all of these things around the board and on your globe, you'd find at the bottom, we would have done something like 173,606 miles in our travels. And that was only really in the space of, I think, September 2019 through to early January 2020. So we've done a lot of miles for a school of 174 pupils, and we've enjoyed making those journeys very, very much. But look at some of the places we've been. We've been to New York singing Christmas carols. We've done some other sort of work with one of the New York schools of dance. We visited Borneo to see the jungle. We've seen the outback in Australia. We've been to Orlando, Alabama, in the United States. We've engaged with some people in Croatia, in Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, and we've been to New York on more than one occasion, and Florida too as well. I couldn't miss that one, could I? So, what have we been doing there? Not just in the other countries of the world. We've also done a bit of travel in our own country. So we've been traveling around all over the place. I'm afraid what I haven't got on there is all of the plotted points that would show you. But I can tell you we have traveled from the far south of England, so down to places like Devon and Cornwall, up to the far north of England to the very far northeast to where the Viking Museum is. And of course, in these troubled times, we've been able to get into museums in central London that have been locked for weeks and weeks on end. So this is all absolutely marvelous. And how did we achieve it? Well, you get a sense of what's going on here from seeing the screens. And these are screens and screenshots from our classrooms. And there are some famous names hidden away in some of those screens. You might recognize on the top right there, the famous, the very highly respected and internationally acclaimed president of South Africa one time, President Nelson Mandela. We didn't manage to talk to Nelson Mandela, of course, but we did talk to somebody who knew him very, very well. Once upon a time, his personal bodyguard. Let's just have a look at some of these things. So why would we do all of these things? And why is video conferencing technology so important to us? Well, I could add things to this, of course, to update with the COVID crisis that we have and how it actually allows us to do some of those things. But even before then, traveling 173,000 miles around the globe isn't an economic feasibility for us. So it makes a lot of financial sense for us to invest our money in video technology, which is going to allow us to conference with others. It's actually so much easier to do these sorts of things. We don't have to search out our passports, look for our booking cards for the flights. We don't have to get permission from parents to take our young people out of the country. We don't have to ask the government if we can leave the country and travel during these times of COVID. So it's much easier to organize all of these things. It puts us in contact and it puts us in touch with the rest of the world, just like a conference like this. The Global Schools Alliance, wonderful stuff. I mean, we've got people who are speaking here from the west of us in Jamaica, all the way through to the east of us in Cambodia, and we're all coming together via video links and doing such wonderful things. So video conference technology, video VC technology puts us in contact with the rest of the world and the rest of the world in contact with us. But for youngsters who've got challenges in their literacy, their numeracy and so on, it really expands, develops their knowledge, their understanding and appreciation of the life experiences of others. Now, if there's one thing that you may or may not know about young autistic individuals, it's that their sense of empathy and understanding with others is often very, very limited altogether. So in order to expand their experience of life with other people in different parts of the world, we are enriching everything that they experience by doing that through video technology if we can't do it in person. And there's a little phrase that used to be a bit of a buzzword, I think, back in the early 2020s. We talked about cultural capital, and that's really about being able to understand the life experiences of others who live their lives in different parts of the world or come from different places in this. So let's just move that along slightly. So video conferencing. So I've said we've connected with a range of people, organizations and countries. We've got a very long list of those. We've met with individual experts, groups of people and other children in their classrooms. We've spoken to experts in Borneo, in the jungle, who know about things like some of the things that Caroline and Mialia were talking about, the Liger Leadership Academy and issues about deforestation and so on. This is all lived stuff for our kids too, because we can connect to those who are out there in the field and experiencing some of those things themselves. When we spoke to the people at the European Space Centre, which is based in the UK, we were able to talk to people who were actually engaged with those who were going into outer space, hundreds of miles above the Earth and experiencing things up there. Getting our children who often find it very difficult to express themselves at all, to think of what questions would you ask a man who's been into outer space, and they come up with fantastic questions. What do you eat when you're in space? I don't know. How do you go to the bathroom? you know, crazy stuff like this. So, but my kids, they have no embarrassment about asking the questions. But we've been able to use this video conferencing technology. We've learned to use the hardware. We've learned to use the applications which we find in our computers. But we've also been able to get people using these things, mobile telephones, tablets, iPads, all of those things in order to connect with people in other places. It's fantastic, really fantastic. I can see the question on the left, but how do we connect? Okay, so there's some technical stuff that I don't really understand, but I've got people who do understand. I'm going to say a big, big, big thank you to Mina, who actually managed to help us get all of this stuff together. The video conferencing kit with cameras and microphones and so on is much, much better than the stuff I got perched above my screen here. We use something called vScene, but I know that in the space of the last 13 months, actually so much of this has been, it hasn't been superseded, but actually the big thing we use now, we all use Zoom. We're using Zoom here. I use Microsoft Teams, you know, on a fairly daily basis. I've got 4 grandchildren, 2 of them in secondary school. When they were in lockdown and not able to attend school, one was using Google Meet for her lessons. Another one was using Teams for her lessons. You know, these things are happening, and it's kind of superseded what we do. But it's not just the technology and what we do with it there. It's the experiences that we can give those young people to enrich their lives and give them some sort of global learning experience. So these are some things that are maybe messages for you if you really want to get these things happening in your schools and your places of learning and so on. You've got to have someone who is almost a sponsor to you, who's going to help make these things happen. I love technology. I used to be, before I became the head teacher in this school, I was an IT coordinator in my school as well as deputy head teacher. I had some of the skills, but I had the enthusiasm and the buy-in to all of those things. It didn't take my colleague Joe, the IT teacher, much to persuade me that we had to do this sort of thing. And of course, Mina could persuade me to do almost anything here anyway. And getting that sort of buy-in is really, really important. The technical support. So what Mina doesn't know, she knows somebody who does know. And if she doesn't know somebody who knows, she'll get somebody who can help make it happen. So when we launched into all of this lockdown with Zoom and so on, Mina knew somebody on the other side of the pond in North America, in the United States, who was able to, you know, just help get things set up. You know, having somebody who can either support you technically, having a VC coordinator, you know, so having somebody local, you know, who's able to facilitate those things, but also somebody skilled within school who can do that. My colleague Joe, who presented with me last year, absolutely fantastic that way. And having the content is really, you bring the content yourself. You can make the content yourself. You know, the experiences you bring to the set are the content. That's the content. You know, the lives that we lead, you know, in the UK, anywhere else, you know, we can share those things. Collaborating with other schools, that's what I mean. It's about talking to people in different parts of the world and sharing those experiences we have as fellow members of this great human race. We can bring those things together. And being part of a schools VC network, and I know Fazana is going to be talking very, very shortly too, and we're connected there together. This has been really, really wonderful for us at school. I'm conscious of time and things like that. There is a short video here, which I'm going to skip past just now. It kind of shows you a little bit of what's happening there. But if I can, just for a minute, because I just want to get some of the examples that I can show you there. So Blue Cross, I'm trying to remember what on earth we were talking about. Blue Cross, what was Blue Cross even about?
It's a charity for pets, and they were discussing pets and animals and dogs and cats. And yeah.
See, if you don't know what it's about, you can always ask somebody who does. And this was a great experience. You know, these kids could ask all sorts of things. They've got pets at home. They've got dogs and cats and things like that. They could ask first-hand questions of an expert who was able to talk to them about that. You know, the Manhattan School of Music, absolutely amazing there. You know, you can see, I mean, these are just two of the schools that are involved. One of them is ours. One of them is another sister school participating in the project. We're connected to Manhattan. It's freezing cold outside. Everyone is wearing Santa Claus hats, looking faintly ridiculous. What fun. They're singing Christmas carols, and it's coordinated with somebody who comes from a serious musical institution in Manhattan and New York. I mean, what can you say about that? You know, where would you get the chance to do those things? You know, if I bring a bunch of kids over to New York and I stand outside the door, they're going to turn me away. You know, sorry, we're busy today. But we can do something like this, and we can do that by video link. Wonderful stuff. You know, there they are singing with their friends. I've been to Manhattan without my mum. Some of the things the kids said afterwards, wonderful. American history. You know, we're seeing some of the Civil War history, and you know, and some of the key geographical points about that. You know, and linking with people in Alabama who are just having breakfast there, but they can talk to you about American history along the way. You know, what a wonderful chance there. You know, we had a visit from some colleagues from a school in Croatia, in Zagreb, and they visited us here, and we kept up that link. We managed to link up with some of their older pupils, I think a little bit older than the group that we had. They speak, you know, a fluent Croatian, of course, but their English was absolutely stunning. We speak no Croatian, unfortunately, at Little Heath School. These guys were brilliant, and they could ask them all sorts of things. You know, they were having sort of peer-to-peer conversations. You know, and it was also a Christmas time experience there as well. And hearing the other youngsters singing Jingle Bells back to them in Croatian was, you know, just a joy. It's such fun. It's such fun, and learning should always be fun. Get the kids this way. But it's not just for us, for our pupils. It's also for our staff, and our staff, of course, are able to benefit hugely from this. But of course, I'm telling you something that you already know, because we've all been doing this, you know, since the start of lockdown. So, but we were doing some of these things earlier on, which was great fun. I think you've got the gist of, you know, what the benefits are. You know, you can do these things without going outside and getting rained on in the jungle, or freezing cold in Siberia or something like that, you know, and the organization is so much easier. You just got to get the email links and talk to people and sort it out. It's all so easy. And I think we know why we do it. It's not just because we're locked down now, but it's because we can do these things. We can do these things in a way that we can never imagine ourselves doing with young people and with colleagues in different parts of the world. So just do it. It's interactive. There was something earlier on about the interactive experiences, which is one of the keys to education. It was right at the beginning, Sven talking about the experience of Fiction Express, which makes it something different to the traditional publishing model, where we write a book, we publish a book, and somebody reads that book. But no, his model is slightly different. You write a book, you kind of publish parts of it, and then you've got some interaction with your audience, who will determine what happens next. This is precisely what happens when you do video conferencing, and you don't know what you're going to get at the beginning, but you don't know what you're going to get at the end. That's the big difference. So it's lovely, and I would say it does all of these things for us. It's raised confidence not just of staff, but also the children. It's developed communication. I know there's a link into literacy. For us, communication and literacy go together. It helps prepare our young people for activities they might be doing afterwards. So it might be a literacy activity which they develop further, where they are using writing skills, they're reading about things and so on. It might be about modeling something. It might be about creating, you know, something artistic which comes out of that. And it helps to develop the curiosity of our young people. And actually, we were going towards something called an area of excellence in this area. So just offline, one of my colleagues is just leaving at the moment, so I'm just getting a wave there. And so we've worked with all of these different people there. Chris Libby, who's the bodyguard of Nelson Mandela, the British Museum, the National Space Centre, the Grand Hotel, Marriott's Hotel, that is, out in Clear Point in the USA, Education City, there's Blue Cross for Pets and so on. They just keep coming, they just keep coming. And there's more and more and more of them. Yes, and we've continued to do these things all along. We've had authors talking to us, reading some of their own books and having youngsters asking questions about them. So I'm just trying to get on to the next one, but there's obviously so many things that we do. And before and after, let me just move past. Okay, so I'm going to say just a few things to bring us up to date in the last 12 months, and we didn't really find it so easy at the beginning. I'm going to say that the technology was actually much harder for us to roll out as a school when we were doing this for all of the children, when school was really locked down. We found a lot of these things difficult at the beginning. But when we worked on these, we had Mina's support there. Mina did some really fantastic training with our staff to get them skilled up. They did a lot of their own learning to make sure that they were in a position to deliver live streamed lessons from the classroom. So some of the staff were in school delivering those lessons to pupils who were at home. So some of our kids were in school, about 25%, and 75% were at home. And that was between the beginning of January until March the 8th. We also had teachers who were actually at home for a considerable amount of time, who were delivering lessons from their living rooms, their kitchens, their studies, into the classrooms while there were children in school. And we were supporting those children in school with colleagues, learning support assistants. And we were doing some, where it was really important for those sessions not to be with a big group. We were doing one-to-one sessions, small group sessions, all that sort of live streaming. We had speech and language therapists who were able to deliver therapy interventions, all happening on live stream by Zoom. I was running assemblies. Some of my other colleagues were doing assemblies, and we still do them on Zoom now. We still do those on Zoom. Monday morning, that's one of my first tasks of the week. I do a whole school assembly. The difference is we can get the parents into the room and the carers into the room now, whereas before, my school hall is just too small to do that sort of thing. During the lockdown in January, we had a daily story time. If we're talking literacy, we had poetry readings, we had fairy tales being read, we were talking about nursery rhymes, those sorts of things, stories for kids, absolutely fantastic, all the way through the third lockdown. And of course the staff, we don't meet with staff face to face now. We meet on Zoom. Even my colleague who's next door, I meet with her on Zoom. It's crazy, isn't it? But it works. Okay, I did this in the wrong order, but don't worry. And some of these things, I think Marva was mentioning earlier, some of the real difficulties that we faced along the way. And some of these have got better and some of them haven't. Lack of equipment, just not having enough equipment. We gave our staff the computers, the laptop computers we had. Quite a lot of them were very old because we didn't have enough to give to the kids to take home. So, but we needed the staff to be able to prepare their lessons and share their lessons. We had parents who maybe had 2 or 3 children of school age, and they just couldn't deal with the difficulty of supporting all those different children at the same time. Again, Marva's been sharing some of her experiences in Jamaica, exactly the same in Northeast London for us. Some of those parents might have had one mobile telephone. Some of them might have had a laptop or 3. There was one family, my daughter's got a problem. She's the 4th child in the family who needs access to something I just haven't got. Trouble like that. We had some cases where a teacher was teaching a lesson in the classroom, and there was another 2 or 3 children who were at home on a video link. They were zooming into the lesson that was taking place in the classroom while there were other kids in the room. We had some real challenges doing that, or the other way around. Some kids in school, some kids at home, and the teachers at home. Very, very difficult, very challenging. And what we found also was right towards the end of that lockdown, we started to lose some of the kids who were involved, those at home. There was a drop off in attendance right at the end, just before we came back on the 8th of March. And I think the big thing for me, and this is what video conferencing and Zoom and Teams and all of that is never going to replace, is the real life classroom experience for all pupils. But it does a pretty good job of trying to get there. And that's why I would say, if you can get it, if you can do these things for your children, for the kids that you work with, you know, embrace this and grab it and use that to enhance the experience that they might not otherwise get. But there's nothing that beats children coming together and working in partnership. And that really is just my last bit, which is the loss and stress that, of course, not just the children experience, but we all experience by not having the same sort of social world that we're used to. Anyway, enough of me. I'm sure there's other people who will want to come in. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you so much for that. If you stop sharing, please. And yes, obviously, as much as we are enthusiasts of video conferencing, it will never replace the actual face-to-face feeling that we get when you're actually in a room with 30 children. But as you've also correctly said, it brings so many wider opportunities for all of us. So thank you so much. And I'm very, very proud of you, James. So thank you for taking the time. I know it's the end of a long school day for you as well, so I really appreciate it. So without further ado, I'm going to go on now to someone else who I'm very, very proud of. And this is another head teacher from the London Borough of Redbridge. This is Fazana Hussain, and she has been teaching for over 20 years. She wants to and does empower and inspire women to lead education through the works of an organisation called Women Ed. And she's held meetings with the Chief Inspector of Education, Amanda Spielman, and other Ofsted professionals in her role as the president of the Muslim Teachers Association. She was appointed as the head teacher of Glade Primary only in September 2019, through which since then has been through an Ofsted inspection. The school's been accredited with UNICEF Rights Respecting Gold Awards, the Early Year Foundation Stage Quality Mark, Wellbeing Award for Schools, and Eco School Green Flag. So, and I will leave it to her to tell you about her journey with video conferencing. And Glade Primary has been part of the video conferencing network. We are now a national network, just so you know. So it's not just the schools in Redbridge that I do support and work with. But Glade Primary have actually been video conferencing the staff there and the children for over 10 years. But now I'm handing over to Fazana.
Thank you, Minna. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, or good evening for us. Well, hello to everyone from all across the world. It is an absolute honour and privilege to be here in front of you all. So I'll just get out my presentation, slideshow. Can you all see it? Is that okay? Okay, thank you. So I'm going to be talking very quickly about the impact of Zoom and video conferencing on teaching and learning, in particular in our school, Glade Primary School. And Glade is a 2-form-entry school. So that means there are 2 classes in every year group. We have just under 500 pupils, and we have a very diverse community. And our children age from age 3 in nursery all the way to 11 in year 6. So a bit of experience, a bit of history of us. Last year, 2020, March, and this was just before the lockdown was announced. So we were a little bit ahead. Like Mina said, at Glade, we were already doing video conferencing, but we had teacher training, and Mina was amazing with that. Like James said in his earlier presentation, the way she came in really quickly and arranged our CPD for our staff. We had ICT lessons on how to navigate Zoom with all the children. We wrote our own code of conduct for staff and pupils on how to use Zoom. Sorry, and again, Mina supported us with that. We had additional drop-in sessions available for staff who lacked a bit of confidence and just needed the additional support. Following on from that, we had weekly staff meetings over Zoom. And again, like James said, we had many staff who were at home. We had teachers, support staff, all over, everywhere at home, and some were in school, but we carried on with our staff meetings. We carried on with phase meetings. Education visits, again, very similar to the last presentation that James did. We carried on virtually through Zoom. We actually even appeared on ITV National News for taking our children to Manhattan School of Music. Parents' evening, and this was really innovative stuff because we'd never done things like this before. It was almost normal for parents to come in, see their children's book, children's work in school, but we conducted all very successfully over Zoom. We had music lessons over Zoom, including community singing. So it wasn't just about the children, but the wider community. And then again, like James said earlier, Mina knows a lot of people, so she connected us with different people. There was a Dr. Warren Kidd, who was professor at University of East London. So he came in and did some research at Glade and looked at the impact of video conferencing at our school. So just sharing a little picture of when we were reported, and we were so excited, our community so excited to see our small school in Redbridge on TV, on the news. Again, just to show you a picture of some of our staff meetings, what our staff meetings looked like. I think this was VE Day, hence we had some bunting behind me. I was dressed up with the Union Jack colours. So September 2020, when everyone came back to school and feeling a little less anxious, class talks, which are talks for parents, we still carried on over Zoom. It wasn't safe enough. We couldn't maintain social distancing, so we still carried that over Zoom. Parents' evening for the autumn term, we did those over Zoom as well. Virtual meetings with parents of children with SEND, with different organisations, external people. We did all of that over Zoom. Staff meetings continued to use Zoom, so we ensured the bubbles were being maintained within the school, so we're not mixing different groups of people. Our weekly insets, CPD training, all delivered via Zoom, and they still are. So that is something we've still continued. And again, like James said earlier, we had virtual visits as well with Chris Lubber. We had Roman workshop, Vikings workshop linked into our curriculum. And at Christmas time, we had virtual visit to go see Santa Claus as well. So our younger children in early years really did enjoy that. As part of Black Lives Matter movement, we had workshops carried out remotely over Zoom across the school for every year group. So then after Christmas, a bit of a surprise, we had a second lockdown, January 2021. We had already planned the 4th of January to be an inset day on training staff on how to use Google Classrooms. And it wasn't instead of Zoom, it was to complement our Zoom lessons. So Zoom was and we still use Zoom for our live lessons, but we needed a platform where teachers could upload their work for children, and children could then access that from home and submit work. We had daily reading sessions at the end of the day. That's known, we call them DEAR, D-E-A-R, drop everything and read. So we had across the school, everyone at 3 o'clock would drop everything and we read. So we maintained this while children were at home during lockdown. At 3 o'clock, they'd log on, and lower down in the school, as children are younger, a member of staff, an adult, would read to them. And it was just for them to enjoy reading, for them to develop that love of reading. With the older children, we asked them to lead it. So again, empowering them to become independent and share their reading. We had personalized phonics sessions for identified children. So phonics for the younger children, again, teaching them to read in their own personalized, individualized groups. That was being organized throughout the day. We had interventions for identified groups over Zoom for children. Weekly poetry and oracy sessions. So we're very lucky. We have outside facilities. We have a forest in our school. We're really fortunate with our outdoor grounds. So we actually did some projects in our forest for the children that were in school within as part of the bubbles. And then we linked to this with the children who were at home through the Zoom sessions, so that either one group who are in school or those that are at home weren't benefiting or missing out on anything. So that was really good. It brought them together. We had an emphasis on sharing written and cross-curricular work in Zoom sessions, and children in school as part of the bubbles were included in the live sessions.
So again, I talked about outdoor learning, so the literacy through outdoor learning, and we held governor meetings with our school council and the eco committee, which resulted in our accreditation of green flag eco schools. The children who were in school were put in different bubbles according to their ages. So the bubble who were in the Key Stage 1 group, they used Zoom to present the Big Bird Watch with others at home, which contributed to our Wild Challenge Awards. And then finally, the Royal Horticultural Society Big Soup Share was shared through parent mail, newsletters, and the website to promote family learning. And this supported our successful application for the Royal Horticultural Society Level 5 Gardening Award. And you can see some pictures, because what we asked parents to do or families to do is, as they did some of these activities at home, to send us evidence, send us the photos, and we shared them. So these are just a couple that we've got permission to share. Just so you can see a glimpse of what it looks like. Then we had Aspirations Week. So Aspirations is another one of our core curriculum drivers, and we aim high for our children. So we had a whole week of different specialists coming in. And this particular one, this year, we were sponsored by the charity 15 Billion EBP, who came in. I say came in virtually and did workshops for our children over Zoom. So it was really, really useful. The Iliad project, this is something again new to Glade, and it worked fantastically. This was something we had planned anyway for the spring term, but we had planned it as live lessons, not knowing that we were going to go into lockdown, but actually it worked really well over Zoom just as well. We had upper Key Stage 2 children, so children in years 5 and 6. They took part in the Iliad project, so learned about the story of the Trojan War. And it was really good to see how the children just submerged in it, and they loved learning about the Trojan War. And they came back and they were telling us about different heroes and the links behind it, the different gods and their stories. So again, the pictures that you've got there, you've got some children who were in school in the bubble, and they did some drama linked to their literacy. And then in the afternoon, we did the Zoom sessions with the children at home. World Book Week. This week was a little bit celebrated a little bit differently this year. We had a virtual World Book Week. Children dressed as their favorite characters for their live teaching sessions, and teachers and children who were in school as part of their bubbles also dressed up. Pictures were shared via various digital platforms. We had several age-appropriate webinars with different authors. So we had sessions with Michael Rosen and David Williams, for example. We hosted our very first family book quiz via Zoom in the one evening, and that was really successful as well. We had lots of parents, lots of families join in and actually become quite competitive. And so again, some of those pictures there on screen are of our families and the quiz. And we also held a Glade open mic night, again over Zoom, but this was just for adults. So it's for parents and staff, adults only. And it was hosted by a poet, Adissa the Verbalizer. And this was just an opportunity for our adults to share their poetry or their responses, their reflections. And again, this was a good way of channeling as well, because we do a lot in schools for our children, naturally. But sometimes we kind of forget, especially during lockdown, the challenges that our parents, the adults have at home, especially many of them who are maintaining their own jobs, working from home and home educating their children. So this night, this open mic was for them. So Reading Week, when we came back on the 8th of March, when children returned, we continued to use Zoom to provide enrichment opportunities without crossing bubbles. So we had both poets Adissa and Johnny Walker from Otherwise Education delivering poetry and oracy sessions for each class throughout the week. So you've got a picture of Adissa at the top and picture of Johnny at the bottom. And I'm just going to add here, because something else we are really working on is about diversity within our curriculum, and not just tokenistic diversity that's, we celebrate Black History Month in October every year, but how are our children represented through the curriculum? And something I said to you earlier was about, we are a very diverse community. So do our children feel represented when they read? When they see things in the curriculum, are they represented? Are their backgrounds, their religion, their cultures, how are they represented? Are they represented accurately? So again, looking into that, so the artists that we have in that are coming in at the moment, different poets that are coming in, we are very mindful of celebrating that diversity. So our children have developed their confidence in using virtual learning platforms and are now, hand on my heart, I can say they're more resilient and innovative. Who would have thought that we would be here where our children now are actually so confident at using technology? So impact of Zoom, and I have focused particularly on Zoom here because, as Mina knows, Zoom has been our biggest success when it comes to online learning. So it's been that golden thread that's held our school community, and not just the children, but the school community together. It's given our children the confidence to use a wide variety of virtual platforms to deliver and share their lives with us. Our children have become both confident and capable users of Zoom as a forum for sharing, learning, and a starting point for greater use of other digital platforms and multimedia. So I did explain to you earlier that we've started using Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, and they are actually becoming really confident with all. So it's meant to the continuation of quality teaching and learning for all children, which continues today for those children who otherwise might have been socially excluded. So just an example of one child in year 6 who is severely disabled and is clinically vulnerable, and she hasn't been in school since February 2020. However, she takes part in all lessons, and in our classroom now, the Zoom is always up on a laptop so that she is part of the lesson and the learning that's going on. We're planning things for transition because she'll be leaving us in a few months' time when she goes to secondary school. So this has helped to make sure that our young adult is included and part of the curriculum. That's the end of my presentation. So I just want to say a big thank you again. Take this opportunity to say thank you to Mina for all your support. We wouldn't have been able to achieve half the things that we have without your support. So thank you, Mina.
Oh, thank you. Right, I'm going to try not to get tearful here with both James and Fazana, but we've been on a long journey. I was actually standing at Glade Primary. I was just thinking this time last year, probably even on this date, with you at the back of your library, at the back, your staff in front of me. And they all told me, Mina, we want to talk to the children. And I said to them, you don't want to link live into homes. It's really dangerous. And I was trying to say, but your staff said, we want to do it. We connect to the National Space Centre. We do it all the time. Why can't we do it from our homes? We were all in shock this time last year. And if it wasn't for the enthusiasm of your staff and you, Fazana, you encouraged me to push the boundaries of video conferencing and gave me the confidence to take it into your staff's homes and into the children's homes. And you helped me prove and lead the way for the other schools in the borough and other schools outside Redbridge who've now followed us to know that you can video conference securely and with high quality using a desktop solution like Zoom. So I want to say thank you to you, Fazana. Thank you.
And thank you, Mina, and for getting our head teachers to join us. We've had a lot of amazing speakers this afternoon, and like I say, there is so much to take in. I don't think we've had any specific questions because I think there's been some great information shared, and we can carry on the conversations on the Learning Unleashed group and on the Facebook as well. I'm sure I'll carry on there as well. But what I think it has shown us is just the amazing things we can do, getting the rest of the world into our own doorstep, how we can connect so easily, getting experts. I love that idea. The amount of sharing and just linking with your own community. It's a great tool that we all need to make the most of. And we've had some great other speakers, like say the variation. We've gone from Jamaica to Cambodia to London, and a couple of quite useful products there from our sponsors too, which you can also learn more about from their own websites and their own webinars. So unless anyone has any particular questions, I think I'm just very acutely aware of the time that we're coming to the end anyway, and I can't thank everybody enough. What we'll do is we'll try and share Marva's links and her presentation as well better on the platform, so you can see that a bit more clearer and watch the videos yourselves at your own leisure. That goes with all of the people who have shared videos and we've not actually watched, so we can watch them in our own time. And I think basically, thank you everybody for joining us. So I think we'll probably have to shut it down there. I can't see any particular, I'm just having a quick look in the questions. Really, everyone's just saying thank you very much. I think that's what everyone's saying. And we will carry on offline as well. I think until the time we can meet physically, which is the ultimate aim, is to all go and see each other in our own countries. We will carry on seeing each other this way. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll have another exciting one in a month. Look out for the events coming up. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye for now.